or good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may be. And this is a disclaimer, as we normally do before the show. We remind you to please consult your doctor, your mental health professional, your outreach group, your specialist, or sponsor before adopting any change to your dietary, physical, and or mental health regime. We're going to talk about the whole consortium of topics tonight, so this definitely applies. If you're looking for options with respect to mental health, contact SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, at 1-800-662-4357. Again, 1-800-662-4357. Or go to samhsa.gov. The service is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And it's a confidential free information service for individuals and family members facing such stressors. If you are facing suicidal ideation or suicidal crisis and need to be put in touch with a crisis center, call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. It's 1-800-273-8255. Or go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. You can also text the word HOME to 741-741. That service is also available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And then the other thing that we usually talk about, that I will talk about yet again tonight, because it's something that is really important to me and really important to over 1 million people in the United States. It's basically the National MS Society. The National MS Society being a collective of passionate individuals who want to do something about MS now, to move together towards a world free of multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis is comprised of unpredictable and often disabling flare-ups of the central nervous system. Such flare-ups disrupt the flow of information within the brain and between the brain and the body. The National MS Society is the largest private funder of MS researchers in the world, investing more than $1 billion to date. MS stops people from moving, but the National MS Society exists to make sure that MS doesn't. To contact the National MS Society, please call 1-800-344-4867. Once again, 1-800-344-4867. Go to their website at nationalmssociety.org. Also of note and much importance, we are still raising money for the National MS Society through A Venture to a Cure's fundraising page at rebrand.ly/A Venture to a Cure. Again, that's rebrand.ly/A Venture to a Cure. This effort will last through September 30th, 2021. Thank you for those who have donated money to this amazing organization. It touches me in so many ways. The fact that we can get people together to basically raise money for a very important organization to basically beat a disease that is affecting 1 million plus people in this country and over 3 million people in the world. On that, let's go down memory lane and let's begin. You decided that this bottom was the last bottom you'll ever go through. You decided to roll up your sleeves and get a better handle of your emotional, mental, and physical health. This is the Venture Forward. Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be, and welcome to the Venture Forward. I am John Venturini, a recovering overeating, obesity, alcoholism, and compulsive gambling. And it's an honor and pleasure to see all of you tonight, as we have been doing this since October 15th of last year. That trip down memory lane is a realization for me that a lot of things have changed since we started this show. Since we started this show 9 months ago. And the fact that realizing that there was a lot of work that took place before this, and a lot of work in telling the story and getting the technique into telling the story, was a work that I am honored and so thankful to have taken up, and feel like there's a lot of things I learned about me in just going through all of this that has been the most cathartic process ever. So it's good to see all of you. And as the pre-roll is rolling, you were putting comments up, so I want to say hello to all of you on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And we'll start with Matt Haas, who is the co-host of VF Talks on Fridays, 5:15 Eastern, 2:15 Pacific. Hashtag shameless plug. Matt, how are you this evening? And Matt also comments about the fact that I used the term the whole consortium. It's a term. It's a consortium, I guess. But it was the whole consortium, so it's the whole consortium, I guess. Susan Winther, who is joining us on Facebook, says, "Good evening. Hope all is well. Had my doctor visit yesterday. Everything is great. Doctor very happy. Me too." Susan, I am ecstatic for you. That's phenomenal. And Susan, you are doing the right thing, and I'm proud of you, as well as a lot of folks that are watching tonight. Susan, keep up the great work for sure. Marilyn over on YouTube says, "Afternoon, JV. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well." I am. I'm doing quite well. I hope you're doing well as well. As I've said, there are good days and there are bad days. There are more good days than bad days lately. I am so thankful for that, and it has been a decent day for sure. Marilyn, good to see you. We next go to Mr. Weber from Over the Ocean. That says, "Hey JV, catching you live before I hit the hay. I'm glad I am able to be the live stream you watch before you go to bed." Paul, great to see you this evening. This evening, right. Susan says, "Because of you, I track everything." Susan, that's the way we do it. And we'll talk about why during this episode, because I think it basically holds us accountable. Not only food tracking, not only that, but also the journaling and being very in tune with everything that's going on upstairs. We'll talk about that. LT Weaver over in Utah says, "Hello, John, and everyone here watching. LT, good to see you this afternoon. Hope you're doing well." My Aunt Byrne says, "Hi, John." Aunt Byrne, hi, how are you? Hope you're doing well this evening. And Matt says, "I track everything because I'm a geek." Matt, I gotta be honest with you. There's a little bit of truth to that as far as the reason of why I track all the food and all the different things that I've been consuming, but also the exercise and the weight and the body fat percentage, all of that. Deep down inside, I'm a geek. I graduated college with a math and stat degree, so my mindset's always gravitating to numbers without question. But Matt, nice to know that. Realizing that you're a geeky tracker, yeah, me too, for sure. And of course, a shameless plug. Matt, I was drinking an awful lot, and the weight wasn't flying off, and I found myself severely addicted to alcohol. Then that became part of the question as well. We fast forward and realize that there are a lot of other things that were underneath the covers with that, with respect to compulsive gambling. And we realized that there are massive things that needed to be fixed. And basically, the focus of a venture forward from a life that basically was harmful. That's what this show is all about. And tonight, we're talking about reconstructing ourselves, realizing what the old was, realizing what the new is, getting success with the new, and then moving forward with it. So that's the story I'm telling, for sure. I look at it this way, right? I look at what was overcome since January of 2019, and there's a list of 9, right? Talk about the obesity, we talk about the alcoholism, we talk about compulsive gambling, we talk about demyelination and MS, which basically became the crux of everything that happened, I would say, December onward. We talk about codependency and the realization of that and how to fight that. We talk about an audit. We talk about bankruptcy. We talk about divorce. And yes, we talk about the Backstreet Boys reunion tour. Give you 5 seconds to figure out what that is. And a realization that we still can't tell you what that actually is because of demonetization. But that was 2020 for sure. And, a good cusp of 2021 as well. Some realizations. And I don't have any sort of graphics to bring this in, so I just talked to all of it. But we can't fight everything all at once. We mentioned the term back on the show of the fact that we can't open up all the boxes. If we open up all the boxes and we don't know how to deal with all of that, we stand to fail. We stand to be bombarded with the emotional effect of what is in all those boxes. We stand the effect of everything flowing at us at one time. The best thing we can do is fight this one leg at a time. In my case, being as morbidly obese as I was, the first step was obvious because there is a parenthetical therein that I lost weight twice before. I lost weight in 2001 to 2002. I lost weight in 2010 to 2012. And of course, the weight came back and then some. It seemed to be the adage both times. I know the components on what I have to do to fix this. It's becoming real with myself. It's becoming, hey, this is what you're doing to pass time. This is what you're doing to... You're so addicted to food and consumption that you keep eating. And of course, do you have your weaknesses? Of course, we all do. But when it becomes a question of, I think the best way to consume that is to closet eat or sit in a drive-through lane. That's not any way to exist. And we know that the number of people in the world that do that sort of thing is becoming a larger and larger number. But I know for me, it was killing me. So that's needless to say. We must remember to not dwell upon the past, but live in the present. This one has been something that has been coming up over and over and over again, especially of late. When you go through so much, when you go through tackling 3 things at the same time, but also the peripheral stuff, also a major medical diagnosis, also all of that, there are times where the mind seems to wander. And we must remember not to dwell upon the past. We learn from the past. We gain wisdom from the past. But we shouldn't dwell upon the past. Because we got to live in the present. We could take care of what's going on right now. We can't take care of what's going on tomorrow. And we can't take care of what's going on yesterday because I don't know about you, but I certainly don't have a DeLorean. So, we could take care of today. And we learn from yesterday. And tomorrow is no guarantee. We think about depression as a harboring of the past. And anxiety is the harboring of the potential of the future. More times than not, sometimes unfounded, especially if our mindset is not completely there about it. So we must live in the present. The present that's been given to us is an incredible present, indeed. It's a gift. It goes to the next sort of realization that's been taught to me well early in the run of the last 2.5 years. Gratitude is one of the most important vessels we have. Every moment is truly a gift. And you may say to yourself, well, there's so many bad things that happen. Well, you know what you get from those moments? You get information. And they might be the most dire of situations. They might be the most dire of moments. But we have to take in for what that moment is. And the fact that we're even experiencing that moment in itself is a gift. We talked about that earlier this season. Every moment is truly a gift. I guess the next point to this, going to the whole weight loss thing, is that the body mass index, the BMI index, is a complete joke. It is an antiquated calculation that has existed for way too long. There are a plethora of metrics to determine body composition. BMI is definitely not part of that story. It can be part of a cursory story to say, okay, you have a problem with obesity or you have a problem with being overweight, but that's just a first line pass. There are other things that have to be figured out that determine truly whether or not you have a severe condition. Go back to Maine for a second. Like, within the last month and a half, I've started working out very diligently. But as far as the weight loss journey, in retrospect to the other two times, this was very late in the run before I started doing this. But I also realized that there is something to be said about the act of working out and staying not only physically healthy, but mentally healthy as well. I've had a couple of conversations about this with my neurologist, in the sense that physical health, whether it's strength training or cardiovascular health, is a very important thing for people to do, especially when they're dealing with something like multiple sclerosis or any sort of demyelination or any sort of CIS-related clinically individual syndrome tied to MS. The brain is a set of muscles just as the rest of your body. If we can activate that through some sort of strength training, cardiovascular health, we're doing ourselves a humongous favor. Not only to say that our body composition is a lot more leaner, but we're also strengthening our body. And when a demyelinating event and when multiple sclerosis can affect any portion of the body, whether it's a question of drop leg or a question of numbness and desensitization, it's best that we could do everything we can to stay on top of our health. Outside of losing the weight, outside of the physical health, outside of the fact of having a healthier heart, I have more writing on this than ever before. So working out has made a drastic improvement for me. The last point I wanted to say is that the love and respect we have must begin inside. Then we share it to so many. I know I've mentioned this many times before, but it's something that we must always repeat. In the sense that in the airplane, when the cabin pressure goes out and you can't breathe, when the oxygen masks fall, the first person that should be covered by the mask above you is you. You need to cover your mask first. If you can do that, then you can take care of the rest of the row. But you have to take care of yourself first. You have to basically keep yourself in check and love yourself first. You have to give yourself the biggest amount of respect you can. This way, you can basically share that love, share that respect, share that wisdom to so many people. It's something I keep learning over and over and over again, and it's something we must remember. We must take care of this first. without question. So then the next question is, how did this reinvention happen? And how did this basically come together, right? We knew that there was something that needed to be taking place. There needed to be something that had to happen. What were the sort of characteristics? Things that we've talked about before on the show, but we're going to talk about it again now. It's becoming one with your mind. If you're trying to figure out why you take up very confusing habits, very confusing addictions, very confusing what have you, it's important to take a step back and figure out what's going on. There was a reason why I was overeating and drinking and gambling. And some of that was in the subconscious. Some of it was in the conscious, of course. But some of it was in the subconscious. And that required massive amounts of work to try to work at exactly what that was. Something that I couldn't figure out on my own. Therapy certainly helped. Journaling definitely helped. Meditation definitely helped. Being able to journal about what is going on is the most important thing we can do. It gives us a good summation of what happened that day. Not only by way of thought and using something like a journaling service like Day One in my case, but also by nutritional guidance. I use a program called Lose It, which is a web-based service, but you can get an app and whatnot. It tracks nutritional density. It tracks weight. It tracks what your basal metabolism rate is, how many calories you should have to lose weight. Because again, I am still a big believer of the Harris-Benedict formula or the Mifflin St. Jean formula. I still believe that energy in and energy out is still a great sort of foundation in trying to figure all this out. If you're able to journal all that, you make progress, you can share that with all I can. You can share that with all you can. And also not being fearful to present your thoughts and your learnings. That was part of the problem. For a period of time, I felt like I couldn't anymore. I felt like to people that had a more important role in this, I think it was becoming something where I couldn't do that. And it didn't matter how many conversations took place, but I knew I was feeling squelched. It's an incredible word, squelch. I was feeling squelched. If you look at a situation where you are feeling squelched and you feel like you can't speak your mind, reanalyze. Don't put yourself in a situation where you feel like that sort of horrible and I guess sort of that restrictive sort of groundwork remains. You should be able to live the best life you can. Learn what you can. But give what you can. And love how you can. We must never lose sight of that. The meditation has been so important to get those very special moments to myself. With a clear mind. With a mind that uses visualization and other techniques. It doesn't have to be something like Headspace. There are many different services out there, even YouTube videos that can help with that sort of task, that sort of goal. But to be able to take 5, 10, 20 minutes and just separate, reset, has been so fundamental to everything in us. All of it. Can't lose sight of that. I think in tune with that is the fact that as you learn more, as you do what you do, you must never lose sight of exactly what's going on. Someone has bought me 20 coffees, and whoever that person was, thank you for the coffee. I'm a big fan of coffee. I enjoy coffee, and thank you for that wonderful super chat of 20 coffees. Proceeding down this venture forward has been the most important thing for me. I know that I touch a lot of people doing this, and you know darn well it helps me out because I get to share this. I get to share your comments. I get to show that these things we talk about on this show affect many people. And it's an honor to do this. But it's also been very cleansing for me. And I hope it's been very cleansing for you too. Not really any sort of goodbye there. It's just that I wanted to make sure you understand exactly where my heart is in this. And I'm glad you're here, for sure. So when we make that realization, we know that in itself led to other things that we've talked about. Realizing that there is only one life to live. The importance of being as healthy as I can. It led me to starting to see a doctor regularly, seeing a therapist regularly, journaling and meditating daily, tracking food every day, as the board would say, 838 days, not drinking for 735 days, not gambling for 417 days. Those days are tracked on that board and will continue to be tracked from here on in. I live by that board because it stands as a testimony to what I'm doing. And I must never lose sight of what life is now, but what life was previously. But I won't dwell upon it. I learn from it, and I move forward accordingly. There are better ways to turn firefighters into managers when things arise anyway. What do I mean by that? I think about my free time in a previous world and how I was basically consumed with the idea of drinking or gambling or overeating. And knowing that there is something I can do to help myself, trying to make myself healthier, taking long walks, journaling, going to the gym. The gym has been so important to me. There is an amazing sort of fog that clears after working out. There's an amazing sort of fog that clears once you've had that chance to talk to a therapist, or when you've had a chance to write your thoughts down and not have them squelched, not even by your inner demons. There is so much to be said about that. Couple comments. Susan says, I have to say, as I go through this journey, you have taught me it's okay to talk about my quitting smoking. Susan, without a doubt. Talking about that is the most important thing you can do, as well as everything else you face. Just be open. Be of the mindset that, you know what? I have something I want to overcome. I want something I could walk through and come through the other side better. Doing that, being open about that is the best thing you can do, Susan. I am so proud of you for doing that. As well as I am proud of all of you, especially those in the recovering communities that have come here with that same sort of mindset and guidance and love. What you are doing is so beneficial and so important, not only for you, but it's helped me too. You definitely inspire me, as I hope I have inspired you, for sure. In order to appreciate today, in order to appreciate what the past has been, and I'm going to show this slide, and you're going to say, John, why do you hold on to this? I have to realize what the past looked like. So I look at it this way. This was the old me. You're talking about someone who gambled. You're talking about someone who is a type 4 morbidly obese of a top weight of 480 pounds. That's a BMI, as much as we hate that metric, of 68. Someone who is an alcoholic and someone who is a compulsive gambler. Not said on that slide was someone who had codependency issues, someone who had co-addiction issues, someone who had a lot of other things going on. And that's well aside the fact of an audit, It's well outside of the end of a marriage. It's well outside of multiple sclerosis. And it's well outside of the wonderment of 2020. That was the old me. And the thing is, I appreciate the me that's sitting here right now. I appreciate the me that is able to talk about this. I appreciate all of that. I appreciate all of you. I must never lose sight of that. We're all going through something, right? We are all trying to deal with these things. We can't lose sight of that. But also realize that there are plenty of people that are here to help you. That are here that care. Either because they fought the same battles themselves, or they have a heart and they are here to listen. The best thing we can do is to share, but also to love and to care and to have that sort of strength within that. I think about the old me, and I know that what I have now is leaps and bounds a lot better. This is who I am now. I am now the healthiest I have been in a very long time. This is the skinniest I have been since 2003. As of this morning, I weigh 207 pounds. And that's what I was doing for a while. Was there was a 10-pound allowance for extra skin. That was medically confirmed. That was a 10-pound allowance. I don't make that calculation now. It is just a bare weight. 207. If you assume the 10 pounds of extra skin, it puts me at 197. And I definitely am looking to get that surgery done second half of this year. It's also the refraining of the chief compulsions and addictions that have nearly caused my death twice before. And if you think about all of that, it's really just a question of working on my mind, my body, and my spirit. Because that's what I do to try to make myself stronger. But I also have felt so much love with all you that I know when I do this and I share all this, I know that it's doing something for you too. Going back to Maine for a second. LT says, hell yeah, 207, that's 10 less than me. LT, you look incredible, my friend. And I know all the hard work you're putting in there. Bravo to you. And all of you that work with SOAR. You guys are doing incredible work. So bravo to you, LT. And that means a lot to me. LT also says, good job, brother. Thank you, LT. Ingrid over on YouTube says, John, you're so inspirational. Ingrid, you are too. You very much so. I appreciate you here tonight. Without question, I appreciate you here tonight, for sure. And I hope you're doing well. So, I mean, if we look at that sort of dynamic, it's me working out. It's me in my sobriety. It's me drenched from the gym on the top of that picture. But it's also me tracking the days and me tracking every single pound I lost. It's 273 of those tick marks over there. There's going to be at least 27 more of those tick marks, maybe 37. Who knows? We've had debates about what the proper number is. Anywhere between 27 and 37. But quite frankly, if I end up not losing another pound from this point forward, I'd be very happy with that. I feel a lot more healthier. There are things I want to do. I want to run races. I want to do physically demanding things that I never thought I would do before. Here's something. When I was 480 pounds, I couldn't even sit in a booth at a diner, right? My body would be right against the table. Needless to say, I could sit anywhere. I could sit at the closest of tables, even if the table's scrunched in a bit. There are things I want to do as far as hiking. There are things I want to do as far as sightseeing. We're getting to a place now where we can travel again. I want to start doing all this. I got the ability to start doing this. It took a lot of work. But now that I have it, I don't want to lose it. Marilyn says, JV, there isn't words to say how amazing you are. Love you, bro. I love you too, Marilyn. I love you too. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ingrid says, travel, yes. You darn straight I am. And I will let you know when I've had those plans solidified. But yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen soon. LT says, come to Utah and let's go hiking. Yeah, I definitely want to do that as well. There's just so much that I haven't been able to do in this life that I am darn straight going to do now. So LT, I'm going to take you up on that for sure. Thank you. I talk about this amazing journey. I talk about everything that has transpired. I must not be remiss in thanking a certain group of people and animals that have helped me. Now, not to say there are plenty of you that have helped me too, but this is a shameless plug for VF Talks tomorrow night at 5:15 Eastern, 2:15 Pacific. Paul Burke, Matt Haas, Ashley Blake. Of course, the two cats, Bruce, and that little stinker of that is Stevie. She's gotten better about her, her defecating problem. So a little bit of an update. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But that too. And then, of course, that cantankerous T-Rex that's behind me, or Triceratops who thinks he's a T-Rex. Ongoing joke that we've been doing every day since August of last year. I'm sure I'll be doing for every show going forward, and probably through the next Lita, and Alita after that one. Rex is here, Bruce is here, Stevie's here, Matt, Paul, Ashley, but most importantly, all of you. Thank you. I love all of you. You guys are amazing. I've said something in the beginning of this. Oh, that's a very good point. Ingrid said, does he have an iced coffee? Yeah, he not right now, but in that picture he did. He goes through them really quickly. He's a very particular T-Rex in the sense that he wants to have this sort of 5-shot, 6-shot iced Americano with very little ice. He might have watched that by listening to me. Don't know. Could be. But yeah, that is a iced coffee in his hand. And then Susan says, I can relate to the walking a short distance. Now I walk and breathe easier. Yeah, isn't it incredible? I mean, it's like there was a point in time, Susan, where I couldn't walk more than 5-10 feet without sitting down. And this is from someone who has a job that demands of him to travel, when the Backstreet Boys reunion tour is not going on. And to think that here's someone with a laptop around his shoulder or his neck and has a bag and he's stopping every 5 to 10 feet, something's not good. Now, there's a little bit of a funny sort of twist to that. The reason why I flew Southwest is because they are really great to customers of size. Me being a customer of size, I was able to get an extra seat and get my seat refunded once I do to travel. They still have that program, by the way. Does it mean that I'm taking up that program? No. But it's good to know that there is at least one airline out there that will do that for you. But that doesn't help that doesn't help me when I have to walk across Midway or O'Hare or any of the big airports. I think of SFO as being a humongous airport as well. And just realizing before the plane lands, I think about how long that walk's going to be and how many times I had to sit down. No joke. Don't have to think about that anymore. I'm at a point now where I could probably run from one gate to the next very quickly. So it's something that saved my life for sure. Ingrid says they also don't have assigned seats, right? Yes, that's correct. They still don't have assigned seats. It's by boarding group. So there's a group A, group B, group C. You line up, and they call it a cattle call. But basically, based on the number that you get from boarding position, you get to pick wherever you want to sit. I have my own preferences. I like a window seat. I like a seat closer to the front of the plane, but that's the greatest thing about Southwest. You don't get assigned a seat. You get your boarding position, and then you find, or a boarding queue position, and based on the position you have there, you can find your seat. Now, the other thing that's interesting is when they give you the extra seat, they also give you a pre-board pass as well. So you're ahead of the queue in the sense that in the eyes of the airline, you now have a disability. You should be able to sit out of that first group, and then also the fact that you need an extra seat next to you. Gotta say, they're still, without question, my favorite airline because of that. And even at 208 pounds, glad to patronize them, without a doubt. It's not, they're not paying me to say this. I'm just, God's honest truth. Southwest, big on the Southwest. Ingrid was based at Midway. Yeah, they have a major hub at Midway. I mentioned O'Hare because there are times where a flight from, American Airlines or United would be the better choice. But more times than not, when I'm going through Chicago, I'm going through Midway. So I think there's only one final thing for me to do with respect to this, and talking about how I reconstructed myself, but the things that I've hold very near to me in the sense that we think about adages, one day at a time, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. I hold that very near. Every moment's a gift, right? And then there is a phrase that a certain individual on his show says on every single episode, and I'm going to say it now too. In the sense that God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Serenity is a very important concept for us to realize. Not necessarily by the sake of addiction alone, but there are a lot of life's challenges where we must remember that. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We can't fix everything. We can only fix the things we can. And then basically accept the things that we can't change. Be okay with the things we can't change. And also being very wise to know what the difference between the two are. So there aren't any truer words that I've gravitated to in the last 2.5 years than those. LT says amen. Ingrid says great, great prayer. And I'll say this. It's something where I make sure, whether it's a stream or no stream, I say that every day. I just have to be very on top of the things that I can change because I've changed so much. But if I can't change it, I have to be okay with it. Right? Right. That said, the next thing we're going to do is have a VF Talks tomorrow night at 5:15 Eastern, 2:15 Pacific with Matt, with Paul, with Ashley, where we'll talk about anything and everything as we normally do, with a cantankerous triceratops over my right shoulder, and perhaps a couple of cameos from the two cats. It's going to be a good time as it is always. Hoping to see you tomorrow evening or tomorrow afternoon here on the Venture Forward. 5:15 Eastern, 2:15 Pacific. Before then, though, I'll say the same thing I say at the end of every Venture Forward. Stay safe, stay sane, stay strong, stay sober. You're worth it. Have a great night. I will see you tomorrow at 5:15 Eastern, 2:15 Pacific. Have a great night.